I got an update for an indicator that I know a lot of you guys have been waiting since maybe 2023. So here it is, better late than never. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a quicker video. I'm not going to go over any actual setups here today. Instead, I wanted to focus more on how this indicator works and how we can configure it to fit our needs. But as always, guys, this is not trading advice. I mainly made this indicator as a user request, so use at your own risk. Now, this indicator is going to be free for everyone. You're going to be able to find it on my website, tradesaber.com/indicators, or over on Discord, where we have a bunch of other content as well. But with that, let's get right into it. All right, looking over at our chart here, this is going to be very familiar for those of you who used the previous MTF indicator. But if you're new to this one or just need a refresher, it's very simple how it works. So all this indicator is doing is it's grabbing the levels of a bar from a different time period. So what does that mean? So in this example, I have a 1 minute chart. This is on NQ. This will work on any chart that you're using. And I'm looking with my indicator at the 60-minute high and the 60-minute low. Now, how this indicator works is it's just looking at the previous bar and it's plotting those levels on the current time period. So for this range right here, so from 12 o'clock, we are looking at this candle. So we take the high of this candle, let's zoom in a little bit so we get the actual levels. So we get the high of that candle and we get the low. So all it's doing is it's plotting these levels from the 60-minute time frame and it's placing them directly on the chart on the most current candles that are currently being formed, and it places them on our main chart on our current time frame that we're looking at, and it will keep plotting them until the next, in this example, 60-minute bar closes, and then it transfers the levels to the new bars. So don't worry, I'm going to run through a few more examples. So this current time period is looking at the high and low of the last 60 minutes. You don't even need to look at a different time frame. You can just see within this time period where were your highs. Here's your high. And where were the lows? So here's the low right here. So it's just plotting the levels that were created in the last period, and it's placing them on your most current. Now, just as another example, you can also change this to, let's say, a 15-minute. So now, instead of looking at the entire 60-minute time period, now we're just looking at the previous 15-minute high and low. So let's zoom in a little bit. So here, your 15-minute candle started when this 1-minute candle started. So where were the highs and lows? So if we look here, this was your high and your low would have been right here. So then it just marks the high and low that were created here and it places them on the most current candles that are currently being built. Now let's go over different ways we can actually configure this indicator that we could not do in previous versions. So let's go into the indicator properties. And guys, just because I know I'm going to get asked where to find this indicator, once you import it, you're going to find it here in the TradeSaber folder. You're going to scroll down. It's going to be called the TS Multi-Series Open High Low Close. So you just click on it, set it in your configured, and you'll be able to use it. But moving on to the settings, if you've used the previous version, you're going to see a few differences. One of the main ones being it is now much cleaner, but you also have less options. In the previous version, you had to select from a set list and you had to pick your configuration, any visuals for each specific time period that we had a list for. It was all very, honestly, pretty messy and kind of hard to use. So in this version, we really wanted to make sure that it was as easy as possible for the user to just simply load it, get set up, and get going. So what we did here is reduced everything to a single set of levels. So you no longer need to go through a checklist and try to pick the ones that you need and remove the ones that you don't. You can just come up here, type in the minute, day, week, month, or custom range. We'll get to that in a minute. But you can just select the time period that you want and the time frame for that period. So in this example, 30 minutes, you can just load it and it's automatically going to adjust for that high and low period. Or if you want to select the open, you have the close, and you have a median now as well. So really, whatever you want to use for that time frame, you're more than able to now. So if we look over here, it'll tell you if it's the high, the open, the median, the close, or the low of the previous bar for that time frame selected. And guys, I know I'm going to get asked if you want to add even more levels. So let's say you're looking at the 30-minute, you're looking at the 60-minute, maybe the 4-hour. All you have to do is load the indicator as many times as you want and configure each one separately. But this way, it just keeps it as clean as possible. I did find most people were just using one level anyways. So again, there's no need to go selecting and unselecting a whole bunch. Now, another thing you may have noticed if you use the previous version is it will now display all of the previous levels as well. But if you just want to display the most current level, all you have to do is select this option right here. And it's going to clean everything up for you and just display that most current level so you don't get all of that previous noise. Now, the rest of it is mainly just user requests for configuring where your labels are set. So if you want to offset the labels, so right now it's at -1 bars. If you want to put it farther out, you can do that. And another thing that always seemed to come up was the ability to adjust where your label sits. So what we did, kept it very simple. It's just whether you want your label above the line. So in this case, the label is actually above this blue line. Same with the low, it's sitting actually a little bit above, but you'll notice the ones that are not selected are actually a little bit below the line. This is just going to let you adjust a little bit in case the labels are overlapping each other. So in this example, let's do the median right here. We selected. It's not going to move it by a whole lot, but it should give you enough room so they're not exactly over each other. So as you can see, it did move up a little bit. Here, you can adjust the label text in the middle here if you want. You can display anything, quite literally anything. So we hit apply, and it's still going to show you the time frame and the price. But if you want to add any extra notes, you can do that as well. Everything else here, pretty straightforward, guys. Just if you want to change the color of a plot, if you want to change the opacity of the plot, like you can see, the median is a little bit lighter. Again, all very straightforward stuff. I don't want to spend too much time on something like this, but I do want to come back up here and I just want to go through a few things when it comes to the multi-time frame range. The only requirement that you need is you must make sure there are at least 3 bars of whatever time frame you select. Meaning, if you are on a 1-minute time frame and you select a 30-minute time frame that you're looking at, you need at least 3 30-minute candles to process. This is not a big deal with minute bars, but once you start looking at days, weeks, and yes, we added months, you're going to need to have that many days loaded on your 1-minute time frame or whatever time frame you have selected. So let's look at the week for an example. I'm going to load it, but since I only have 5 days selected, it's not going to do anything. So what do I need? I need at least 3 1-week candles. So I add 21 days that I need to load. Let's hit apply. And now you can see that it's calculating. And depending on, again, how many bars you have loaded, it's going to vary how long it takes for it to actually load. But here we have our 1 week high, our 1 week close, open. And again, guys, this is the previous 1 week candle. So it's last week's range. And if we scroll back, right here, I was testing something on playback, and September 5th was a Friday. So a new week starts on our 1 minute, and it's going to retain all of those levels until the next week. So here, September 7th, a new day starts. It's going to retain those same levels from the previous week until this week closes and a new one opens. All right, the last thing I want to cover when it comes to this indicator is something that a lot of you guys were requesting, and that is the ability to choose your own time frame where we get the high, the low, open, close, whatever it may be. Sometimes I know a lot of you guys are playing like pre-market levels, things like that. Well, now we can get those levels. So just select the custom range and you can select any time period that you want. So let's say we're looking at 5 a.m. until, I don't know, 7:30 a.m. Again, not trading advice. I'm just pulling these numbers out of a hat. But let's load that on the chart. And from here, it's going to find that exact range. So directly starting from 5 a.m., let me move this out of the way, it's going to find that opening price. And then for that entire period, again, it's going to find the low. And it's also going to find the highest point, that is this blue line here. So the highest point until our end time, which was 7:30, and 7:30 right here, it's going to find the closing price of that range as well. And of course, it's going to find the direct median between the high and the low as well. So if those are levels that you use for your trading or really any other time range that you want, you can use those now. You can just select the time period that you want and it'll plot all of those levels for you. And one last little thing I want to go over is this new indicator we can finally configure with the Predator X as well. So if you want to take a breakout, you can just set an entry signal. You can go to plot mode and set this to price cross above Indy if you want to break above, price cross below Indy if you want to break below. You can also set filters or exit, really whatever you want to do. I'll probably make another specific video for this later on. I don't want to make this video too long, so for now I'm going to keep it quite simple. So let's say we want to cross above the high for a long entry or cross below the low for a short entry. So once we enable it on the chart, we get a price change. Just select whatever plot that you want. So my long is a cross above the high. My short is a cross below the low. And you can also set your stop loss based on any plot that you want. So let's do maybe the median. Just keep it simple. So we'll see how that looks. So right there, we crossed above the plot. It set our stop directly on the median and it set our targets at, I had this one risk to reward of 1 and 2. So really whatever you want, honestly. This I just threw together for the video. Again, not trading advice. So anyways, I think I'm gonna cut the video here. I hope you guys found this video useful. All links for everything are going to be down below. But as always, take care, enjoy.